Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Entrepreneurship in Focus. We have yet another exciting young entrepreneur straight out of the island of Bermuda.
Whoop, whoop, whoop,
You have
whoop.
seen her, you have seen her products, and when you go away, you can see some of her merchandise. So book a ticket, go down there and talk to her. But welcome to Entrepreneurship in Focus.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here and give back to the institutions that I was a product of, the Bermuda Public School System. I'm
All
excited.
right.
Thank you for inviting me.
Excellent, excellent. Now we have some questions. If you could just tell us a little bit about your business, and then
Okay.
we will follow up that with some questions.
Okay. So everyone, how are you? Again, my name is Kennette Burgess. I soon as I graduated from the Barclay Institute, shout out
Mhm.
Gold
Woohoo!
House.
Full
Okay, I know
house.
you're in middle school, but you'll get there.
House.
So as soon as I graduated from Barclay, I knew what I wanted to do. I know I definitely wanted to venture into marketing. That was my background, and all my internships and jobs and everything directed me to my skill set, which is in marketing. So my business is called Focus Marketing and Development Solutions. And like I said, the background is marketing. I actually have two separate entities, one in Bermuda for my Bermuda clients, and then I also have clients in United States. I'm based also in North Carolina, so I venture between both because and I will talk about this later, but I definitely wanted to keep my options open, right?
Mhm.
So focus marketing, we focus on small business entrepreneurs and making sure that they have the resources they need, because being an entrepreneur is very stressful in itself. Starting out, it can be. So my job is to make their life easier, and with marketing, with project management, with design, and also with another brand. It's called my clothing focus is called Distinct Apparel. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Focus is the umbrella company, Mr. Fogo. And then I have a sub company that's called Distinct Apparel, and that's the design arm for clothing design. So we could talk about that. But yes, Focus Marketing and Distinct Apparel.
Miss Burgess, what was your key driving force to become an entrepreneur?
I guess you can say it was innate. If you, for those of you who know my family, I came from a family of entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my family, including my father, everyone are tradesmen. So I have everyone from who owns businesses and AC, from water truck, from the technical side, refrigeration and plumbing, engineers, right now to the medical side, right? So I have a large family, many entrepreneurs, even barbers. And when I grew up, I always worked with them in their entities, whether it was cutting hair or running errands to the mail or doing their accounting or whatever. You start from the bottom up, right? And when your family has entrepreneurs, you do when you come from a family of entrepreneurs, you have a what you do is endless, is limitless. So I was doing everything from filing to accounting to lunch runs and whatever. So I saw that, and they encouraged me to be an entrepreneur. I could be just like them and make my money, make my time, pretty much be in control of your own destiny and doing your passion. So that's pretty much what started my drive. Is my family. They are
I love
entrepreneurs,
it.
most of them, and working with them, and they encouraged me to be an entrepreneur as well.
I
Right.
love it.
Mhm.
How did you come up with the name of your business, your logo, and your slogan?
Ooh. So Focus Marketing is the parent company, right? And I'm very spirit led. I'm a Christian and
Awesome.
everything, and so that's I know not all of us on the same page, but for me, that's actually something that that actually my creator gave me. So that's not something that I came up with on my own.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that I actually got from here as far as Focus. It was in a dream. I woke up and that was it. So I had to play around
Awesome.
with the ending. I started out as Focus Consulting Group. All I know was Focus. I think Focus Consulting Group, and then that was in my Bermuda. I started my company 3 years ago in Bermuda, and just last year I actually launched my company in the U.S. So I
Mhm.
actually had to re-strategize in the name, because Focus Consulting Group, it was some other businesses that were actually close to that. So I know I couldn't change Focus. I knew it had to be Focus. So what I did was I rebranded from Focus Consulting Group to Focus Marketing and Development Solutions.
Mm. All right.
Awesome.
That's how I
Awesome.
came up with my name. And then Distinct Apparel was the same way. My clothing line is based upon empowerment. It's an empowerment brand. And it's based upon Bermudian empowerment, Black empowerment, women's empowerment, and Christian empowerment. So distinct apparel is actually short for distinction, whereas God will make us will make his people a distinction in the land. And also a second focus is that we will just be unique. If you're unique, you're distinct. You're one of a kind.
Awesome.
You operate on your God-given talents and in your skill set. So that's where I got the name Distinct Apparel.
Ms. Burgess, who is your target market?
So when it comes down to focus marketing, like I said, I'm in two different geographic areas, right? I'm in Bermuda and North Carolina. However, my mission is for new and growing entrepreneurs, and definitely those who are small business. So those who are just starting, or those who might have been around for a couple of years, but say, Kennette, I need your help to start it or to grow and launch my business. So my focus is, as far as geographic area, I have Bermuda, North Carolina. As far as size, the small business entrepreneurs, and as far as demographic, my focus is definitely on women and minority entrepreneurs specifically. I like to help everyone. If you come to me, I'm not going to turn you away. But my focus, where I see in my growing up, when I was at the Barclay, in my family, I saw a lot of people taking advantage of people that look like me. So I wanted to start my business to help people like me to have affordable business and marketing solutions, because sometimes we don't have that. Not everyone could afford to pay $10,000 for a website up front. We just started out this business. We cannot afford to know $10,000. Come on, let's get it more affordable. So I started focus to help people that look like me, as far as new entrepreneurs or existing, with more affordable business and marketing solutions. So that's my target market.
Awesome. What entrepreneurial tricks have you discovered to keep you focused on your goals?
See, I guess you could say it's a trick, but it's something that I think I always had. I actually learned that when I was as a student in the public school system, and I've sort of mastered multitasking. Okay, so students, this is something that we need as entrepreneurs. When you have a business, you got a business. Also, you got to deal with your personal life. You got to balance that. Your friends. You got to deal with in school. It starts out. You're gonna deal with your school studies. You're gonna deal with sports. You have to deal with your extracurricular, your karate, your gymnastics. You have to balance everything in school, right? So as an entrepreneur, it's the same thing. You have to learn how to multitask and do things and balance your life, because you might be a mother, you might be a father. Your sibling. You have my extracurricular. It's just so many things. So the biggest thing I had to learn and master is how to balance being even when I was a part-time entrepreneur, because I've been a full-time now since November.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Now, what is your favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur? All right. What stimulates your interest and enthusiasm as an entrepreneur?
It's really the purpose. Right. The question they asked when we were students, I believe everyone got this question. They told us, okay, think about what you want to be as when you grow up, right? My aspect that I love is the fact that I get to help people, just like I said, the purpose is helping people that look like me start their business, to grow their business, and also to come up with for Distinct Apparel, to come up with that clothing line. Because I also design clothing, but I also from my brand, but I also Distinct Apparel designs clothing for other people's brands as well. I have clients, so that's what I love.
All right, so your initiative is purpose driven.
Yes.
Purpose driven.
And I will do it whether I get paid or not.
No. All right.
Love it.
Great. All right. So, how do you market your business, and which tactics have been most successful for you?
Excellent question. So I am actually in two different markets, right? Now, my focus has been really in Bermuda market, and that's why I'm actually here. And I'm actually traveling back next week to actually focus more on my North Carolina market, because that's relatively new. So for both markets, when it comes down to geographic, your marketing has to be different, right? Because you're dealing with different geographies, you're dealing with different demographics of people, and different buying behaviors, and also have you, right? So in Bermuda, definitely my focus is more Bermudians with the African diaspora, Caribbean heritage, and just being a very smaller island compared to the United States. We're more interpersonal. We're more, it's more of a if I tell you, you're gonna tell everyone that you know. That works in Bermuda. Sometimes you don't have to spend a lot of money on advertising because you go and you have a million friends. You're gonna go tell them, not a million because not Bermuda, but you get the point. So I rely a lot of tactics when it comes down to viral marketing, so social media, digital marketing. Send out a WhatsApp message and everyone's gonna forward it and go around. Also in Bermuda works for more outside of digital and social media. You might have seen me in the World Gazette. I try to utilize it. That's our only paper, right? So we can capitalize on that. So I've been in the World Gazette a few times. That captures not people who is my age or younger, because we don't really read the paper as much. But that's mostly for my older target, maybe my 50 and up.
Right.
However, for the younger target, of course, cable. So I'm also advertising on cable television in Bermuda. So I use digital, social media, marketing, cable, and newspaper marketing. I try to use all the streams, but of course, when it comes down to optimizing your budget, I also use the barter system. So this is something the children use. This is something that we underutilize.
Right. True.
I mean, not just Bermuda, in the US as well, right? So I know somebody who wants my services. Instead of paying for it, I can say, well, I need your services, you need mine.
Exchange.
We barter, right? So I do a lot of that, believe it or not, when it comes down to advertising with that. So sometimes you might see me, you might think, oh, Kennette pay for that. No, Kennette may not have paid for that. Kennette may have giving, let's say, free marketing advice, and they're giving me free digital space or advertising because I'm bringing them clients. So that's one of the tactics that I use a lot. And now when I get back to North Carolina, I'm going to be using the same tactics, but more so with that, it's definitely I have to capitalize more on the digital space because it's a larger market. So I'm capitalizing more on digital, and maybe I'm also going to consider billboard and mailing advertising, which is utilized a lot in the United States.
All right, great. And I was impressed by that, because a lot of persons still think that barter is irrelevant, based on how we have evolved in terms of business practice. But major companies all over the world still barter because there are natures of service where it is practical still. Yeah.
Please make sure the students know if you barter, you still need to do everything legit and legal. Okay.
True.
So when you barter, you still need to have that word. You don't have to go to a lawyer. If you can, I recommend it. But if you just have a little note, a Word document that says, hi, Mr. Fogo's giving me this, Mr. Clark's giving me this. This is what we're giving to each other, right? You write it down. That's legal and binding in the court. You just make sure that it's very clear on who's getting what, because even barter system, it can get just like with cash or not, it still happens. So make sure everything is documented.
Right. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Now, how did you raise funding for your business venture? And we touched on it not too long ago.
So a lot of my funding, like I said, was definitely saving and sacrifice. I definitely owe that to my mom. She's worked a warehouse job all her life. She's not made a whole lot of money, she would say, but she saved. So she taught me, Kennette, it's not how much you make, right? It's how much you save, right? How much you save. So that's principle she taught me when I was from young. I did. So I was saving. Even when I was in school, I saved enough I had to buy my own cell phone. And a lot of students now, their parents buy their cell phones.
Right.
That's what students I was buying my cell phone from the age of 16. I'm still paying for my own cell phone bill. So I learned that principle. And my business was started from saving. So my paychecks that I got over the years in college and when I started to work full time, all the capital that I used, I didn't learn, I didn't go to family. I had that option, but I saved a lot. So what I saved, I use for that. And again, bartering system, I also use as far as to help with my capital. So saving and bartering, yes.
Yes. Hey, I'm happy that we are focusing on barter.
Yeah.
Like I said, the world believes, and it's such a lie because major companies still barter, they still trade resources and services. No cash involved.
Yes.
No cash involved. The concept of money is not involved. The trading services and the trading products and resources. All right. Let me not get too happy.
Don't get too excited
about barter. All right. So how do you build a successful customer base? How do you retain your customers? How do you attract new customers?
One, you say by operating in your purpose, right? So that's very key because I Some people will tell you, okay, you need to do this, you need to do this, right? And sometimes you do that and you get bugged down with stuff. You need to stay operating your purpose. Whatever's your target market, whatever you say you're going to serve for distinct apparel, let me tell you that. So I have a focus for 4 areas, right? I say faith empowerment, women's, Black, and Bermudian empowerment.
Yeah.
Of course, I have family and friends come up and telling me, no, Kennette, you should make for this and this and that, right? And that would distract me from what's my purpose. That's my purpose. Right. And if I try to do everything else, it's going to take me away from focusing on. So now I'm actually thinking that I'm building customer base by, oh, you can increase it by that, but actually I'm actually, what's the word, deserting the customer base I'm actually supposed to be focusing on that I drafted everything for. So the biggest thing is definitely you have to stay focusing, definitely focus on your purpose, and don't let anybody, no matter who it is, distract you from that. You have to stay focused on that. And I see a lot of my clients, that's one of the things that actually I have to stress to them when we do our strategic marketing sessions is who's your target. We start off with demographics. Who's your target market? What's your demographics? And that's what we're, if you're saying you're targeted to women, then you shouldn't go off targeting to men, right? If you're talking, you're targeting to this sector, you can't go after that. You have to stay focused unless you're going to refocus your vision and your purpose. Then we can talk about it. But if that's what it is, that's what you need to focus on. So build your customer base by really focusing on who they are, so you know what they need, right? What's their buying behaviors? Where what price points are they trying to be at? What makes them want to buy? And just really zoning in on that. That's the biggest thing. I can go on and on about that, but the biggest thing is making sure that you know who your customers are.
Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of owning your own business? Yeah.
Well, the advantages, I guess, are pretty self-explanatory, right? You get to be in charge of your own money. You get to set your prices. You get to do what you like to do. For me personally, one thing I love, and this is a result of COVID and also a result of just my business, but right now I'm working from home. I'm talking to you. I'm at my home, right? My home office. Like I'm here in Bermuda in North Carolina. For my company, I didn't have that option, right? I had to go to work and take that risk of getting sick or whatever it is, or just going in the cold, going in the rain. So being your own entrepreneur, you get to make your own time, make your own hours, money, and all that. Being in control, you get to hire people. You control everything.
Right.
The downside, of course, is as an entrepreneur, you are responsible for your own destiny. So you are also responsible for your own failures. Right. So whatever you put in, you get out. So if you're a lazy entrepreneur, then you're gonna reap those benefits. What you put in is what you get out.
I love
exactly.
that. Yeah,
so that's the downside. If I'm like, oh, I don't feel like it, I'm tired, I don't feel like going to work today. Well, okay, you're not gonna make any money today. Because if I'm gonna train this staff. Oh, okay, well, and I don't do a good job. I tell my clients, if you're a slacker, you cannot be an entrepreneur. And also,
thank you.
Also, just to add to that real quick, we saw with COVID, a lot of my clients, not actually my clients, but with my clients, they were very prepared when it came down to this. They were very, especially I could say one of my biggest clients is a church. They had technology. They had virtual live streaming where they have to stream, right? So they were prepared as entrepreneurs. If you're an entrepreneur that's lazy, that's not forward thinking, that's not always thinking ahead of the curve and thinking what could be next and what could happen, who knows about this virus? No one knew that this virus is going to hit us, right? But my clients were prepared and they were easily ready to shift. Versus some people, like some churches, some businesses weren't able to offer a live stream or like if you're a retail, offer the curbside or whatever. They wasn't able to shift. So what? They closed down. So as an entrepreneur, you have to be definitely willing to make sure that you're always ahead of the curve, thinking definitely pay attention to your competition, and also trying to think, okay, if this was to happen,
right, what
do I need to do, right? So I always thinking ahead of the game, and a lot of people are not able to do that, so they are not probably they're probably not ideal at this stage in their time, maybe to be an entrepreneur, is what I tell them.
Right.
When you have that conversation with them, and you talk about necessary skills and characteristics, what is that conversation like? What skills and characteristics you tell them they need to?
So one of the biggest things we have to be very detail oriented in order to be an entrepreneur, right? When you start a business, it's so much. You have the legal aspect, you got the paperwork, you got the taxes, you have the customer service, the customer retention, you have the marketing, there's so many different things you have to do. And as a new entrepreneur, you probably can't afford, unless you're getting a loan, and even then you might not be able, but you have to be able to balance that and be able to be very detail oriented. If you don't know, I'm not an accountant, but I know what I'm supposed to know as far as, okay, if I hire an accountant, what do I want this account to look like? So you have to be very detail oriented. You also have to take as the definition, and let me know if this changed, Mr. Fogo, but it's a definition of an entrepreneur still someone who's willing to take risk.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
it
that's still present,
incorporates
right?
that. Mhm.
And some people are not willing to take risk.
Mhm.
So in that case, they should not be entrepreneurs. So some people are like, oh, I want this to be successful my first year, but I don't really want to do this because it might not work. And I'm like, okay, well, if you do this, this could work if you do it this way, and that's you have to try it because nothing's guaranteed of being an entrepreneur, right? Just because Susie Q did it, who's your fellow competitor, when you do it, it might not be successful. You know, when she did it, it might have been a reason why she did it, or the time might have been right, or the business, or the. You can't just say nothing is guaranteed, so you have to be willing to take the risk. Take the risk. I mean, so many different characteristics. The biggest thing, you have to be a self-starter. That's one of the biggest keywords I tell them. You have to be a self-starter. You can't be lazy. You have to be willing to challenge yourself, to learn things, and you have to be able to learn every aspect of your business. Who knows? I was a designer. I didn't know nothing about merchandising things and how the stitching is supposed to be in the clothing for the clothing aspect and stuff. Like, I have to learn these things. I don't have to do these things, but if somebody sends me a sample for my clothing and I'm like, whoa, that's not right, I have to be able to articulate back to the manufacturers, hey, this is not right because of this reason. So you have to learn every aspect of your business, even if you don't want to do it, but you have to know so you can correct the person, whether it's your staff, your vendor, whoever. So you have to just be willing to learn. A lot of my clients come to me and they're like, I don't want to learn that. You just do it. I'm like, well, I already know that you're not going to be successful in this area, because even though you don't want to do it, you don't know what it takes to correct me or to correct your vendor if they're doing it wrong. That's a big thing that I see. That's definitely a characteristic.
Excellent. Now, you spoke a little bit earlier about COVID, but how specifically has your COVID affected your business?
Well, despite all the negative sides, and we already know what that side has been. The positive side of COVID is my business has actually thrived because of COVID. So, like I said, I was part-time up until November. So COVID was February, March. And because of COVID, I actually got the extra time during my full-time business to focus on my business, because we was working from home. So I didn't have to 1 hour commute to and from work each time. So that's 2 hours right there. The lunchtime was mine. So I had 3 extra hours, Mr. Fogo. 3 extra hours to focus on my business, right? So during the whole time from March or February, whatever it was, to November, I was focusing on my business more than I ever had. It was no time to go out and party or to do anything else, because guess what? You had to be home on lockdown. And so I had almost seemed like a half a day more than I had before to focus on my business. So from that time, I was really growing and developing my business for November, to be able to take it from part-time for 3 years now to full-time. So that gave me the opportunity to actually focus on it. But also, my business has thrived from even before November, but definitely in November, because a lot of people now are realizing that, look, your employers might not care as much about you as you thought you will. Might not be as valuable as you thought you were. You're getting laid off. You may be made redundant, or your salary's been cut, because guess what? They come first, and at the end of the day, their salary's first. So a lot of my clients have started their own businesses. So I am able to provide value to them. And because of a lot of people are transitioning from a part-time, from a job to a part-time or full-time entrepreneur, because of this, they realize they can't rely on their employer full-time. This COVID has really taken off has really propelled my business, because of the aspect that people are realizing that they can get fired anytime. So that has really helped my business in that aspect. And I'm glad to help them in that way, because I've been trying to tell them all along, at the end of the day, it's okay that you work for somebody, but I always try to tell my clients, at least have 2 to 3 level streams of income. To me, that's economics. That's economics, no matter who you are, right? If you have a full-time job as a teacher, okay, are you selling popcorn on the side? Are you doing? Do you have a taxi? What happens when the Ministry of Education, or when the HSBC or whatever says, look, your service is no longer needed? Or we have to cut down yours because we have an influx of teachers, we have the influx of bank without tellers or whatnot. What happens then? So then you fall back into your popcorn business, and now you turn your part-time popcorn business into now look at Glam Pop. That's a very good example, right? I believe her story, she lost her job and made redundant or something, and now she's a full-time entrepreneur making a lot with her own business. So that's an example I like to tell my clients. As far as a Bermudian example, somebody who looks like me.
Looking at everything you've gone through, if you had the chance to start again, what would you do differently?
Excellent question. It's a lot. It's probably a lot of things that I would do differently. Um, I, when it comes down to my clothing business, it's. I would say I would do differently. No, I definitely would do differently. But then again, I always a person that you learn from your mistakes, you make it better, right? So if you don't make it now, you might make it whatever. But I definitely would be more selective with my manufacturers. I had a situation last year where one of my I had the contract and everything was done legally, but something happened to whereas at the end of the day, I didn't get my product, right? And I was left with customers who needed something. So, I definitely would have, I not would have, but that's what I'm doing now is I'm being more selective and asking different questions up front as far as when it comes down to like manufacturers and whatnot. Also, when it comes down to my focus, my parent company, Focus Marketing, I have learned to definitely be more selective also of not only my contractors, people who I contract out, because if it's something that I don't do, I contract it out to make sure that my client gets the full business and marketing resources that they need, right? So I contract it out, but also I'm also more selective of my customers. Like I said, I don't just choose anyone and anybody when it comes down to my customers, because I am purpose driven and I don't want them to waste my time. I don't want to waste their time. And I want somebody else because I'm ready booked. So if I can't help you, I want to help somebody else. So I would definitely work on more of my selective process. I would fine tune that more up front. I think I was probably more passive because before November, I was a part-time entrepreneur. That's the difference between part-time and full-time, right? Full-time, this is your life. You have to get things right. And you part-time, you can take more risk. It's always taking risk as an entrepreneur, but part-time you take my risk because guess what? I have an income that's gonna substantiate me, that's gonna pay my bills. So I let me just pay this 500. It's right. If I lose it, okay, I'm getting a paycheck and whatever, right? So you're a little bit more loose with the risk and with your decisions. Now it's just like, nah, I didn't pay the bills. This is my extra income. Let's get it together. I don't have time for you. So I'm more stricter now when it comes down to who I choose as a customer and also who I choose as a vendor.
Okay. Our last question. What advice would you give to any student who may be interested in becoming an entrepreneur?
If you're watching this video, then that means you're in middle school, right? So right now is the perfect time for you to start thinking about it. Think about it now. If you're in Mr. Burgess class, Mr. Clark's class, Ms. Daniel's class, you should be thinking about entrepreneurship. If you're in your math class, your language class, I would say you need to start thinking about it early. And that's because that's what I did. And I think that's helped me. Every class I learned from Francis Patton to Clearwater to the Berkeley, right through to college and grad school, every internship I had, I was always focused on being an entrepreneur. So everything I took from that experience, from that class, from that teacher, from that whatever, I always thought, how could I apply that? Because at the end of the day, I want to be able to make my own money and be an entrepreneur. So I would tell them right now, start thinking about it. Because I know that some of my friends and family, not everyone thought about it. They wasn't encouraged to be entrepreneurs at a younger age. So I'm glad that you guys are doing this now because we didn't always have that. Start thinking about it now. And I see from them, it's like, okay, now I'm an entrepreneur. I didn't learn the fundamentals. I didn't even know how to do, the basic accounting principles and to do. So start now and start feeding your minds and your brains. Listen to your teachers, listen to your parents, Googling. Now we have phones. If you're playing, stop playing stuff. You balance your playing games on your phone with also reading about being an entrepreneur and seeing about the young entrepreneurs. There's so many of them. I taught a class, Mr. Fogo, this summer at in the public school system for the STEAM program. I taught a fashion design class, and I taught my students about all the different entrepreneurs in Bermuda, but mostly in the US, who are like age 5 to 10. They're making millions of dollars at a young age. You don't have to be 30, 40, 50 to be an entrepreneur. You can be an entrepreneur right now if you're at in the middle school system right now. You don't have to wait. Go ahead and start thinking about it and instead of asking your parents for, I want a puppy for Christmas and I want a bike, I want a phone, whatever. Tell them you want them to start maybe investing in things and getting things that you can make money. So if it's a phone to because you're using that towards your enterprise, and fine. But start asking for gifts that you want that's gonna actually help you make you some money. And that at the end of the day, if you're like me and you want to get another allowance, You can have your own money to do whatever you want to do within reason, because you have to listen to your parents as well, right? But you can have your own money that you can do what you need to do instead of waiting for somebody to give you that money.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. We
Awesome.
really appreciate you taking this time and allowing us to interview you. We wish you all the success in your business, and we definitely will stop by when we travel.
Yes,
Yep.
and I'm not only down the airport. I just opened up a new store
Caesars?
last week at Sacred
Okay.
in town, and I'm also at
Awesome.
Caesars. I know you can also order online, so you don't have to wait till you go to the airport,
Okay.
Mr. Fergus.
Awesome.
Stop by.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a
All
good
right.
day.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right.
See you later. Have a
Bye.
good day.